It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job. We are your podcast for relatable and relevant conversations with contractors. Hopefully a little bit of entertainment for you as well. My name is Mike. That's Brian.
Hey, yo. And today we have Brandon LoCascio of Inland Builders, the president, CEO, you name it. He's the man. He's right here with us. How you doing, Brandon?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on board. We talked about this a little bit before, and before we kind of get into the details and the nitty-gritty, I think it's important to notice, especially for those that are listening to the audio version, if you're looking over your right shoulder, not only are you, you've definitely showed Mike and I up with our short sleeve collared shirts and your suit and tie there, but explain where you are right now and maybe why you're there, because that's pretty sweet.
So over my shoulder, it's the Wynn and maybe the Encore Hotel, if you can see that as well. I'm in hot Las Vegas out here shooting some content for our company, some corporate videos. And it was really funny because we were going to do it in LA, but my CMO lives in Vegas. And I said, you know what, screw it. I'm coming to town. I'm going to get a nice hotel room. We'll just spend a couple days and kind of what we're doing.
That sounds way more fun, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Seriously.
Well, cool. Well, Brandon, explain, just kind of maybe detail how you got started in the industry, what your company currently does, and kind of the journey to where you're at now.
Yeah, totally. I appreciate that. And again, thanks for having me on. It's always nice to connect with people, and I think this will be fun. So, I started in the real estate business in 2005. As a loan officer back when everybody was a loan officer. Everybody was doing.
I was going to say my wife was a loan officer back then, and then it didn't last very long.
I worked for a real estate investment firm in 2005, and I worked with a lot of loan officers. So I ran out in Vegas of all places. So
that's funny. And I'm telling you, I was just out of high school. I'm 33 now. So 2005, I was out of high school, and I was working at a car wash and changing oil. Horrible job, but it's what I was doing. Just hot oil on you all day.
Right.
And a buddy of mine came to me and said, hey, my brother works at this mortgage company and they're hiring. Do you want to go interview? And I looked at him, I said, what the hell is a mortgage? I don't understand. At this point, right? And I grew up in a real estate family, but I still had no idea what a mortgage was. I'm like, I don't know what a mortgage is. So he said, don't worry about it. Just come down, right? And I swear the guys that hired me must have watched Boiler Room. I'm pretty sure they made us watch it. They must have watched that, the scene where I'm pretty sure Ben Affleck takes the Ferrari key and throws it on the table in front of all the new hires and says, this could be you if you close enough loans. And it was this really funny thing, but it was cool because it was kind of where I got my start, as far as sales and over the phone and business and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you started there. Where did you go from there?
Well, as you guys know, after 2005, the market got real shaky real fast. And so... Yeah,
really fast.
Really fast. And it used to be that you could just, as a loan officer, call your appraiser and say, hey, this one looked good at 400, that one looked good at 500, when you're trying to get values for loans. Mm-hmm. And quickly what happened was the values were dropping out everywhere. The market was changing. And so it was really tough, frankly, to do any type of refinances, which was what we were doing.
Yep.
And so all of a sudden, another thing that I'd never heard of starts happening: short sales, foreclosures, right? They're popping up everywhere. And now, again, once again, I go, what the hell?
What's a short sale?
Yeah, what's a short sale? The market can actually go down, not up. I don't understand. I just got an 05. I don't, that's possible. So it was really kind of funny. So when that happened, my father encouraged me to get my real estate license. And he's in real estate too. And it was a good move because that kind of was the first step towards now working with clients to start, buying foreclosures, buying short sales. And, that was kind of subsequently what I did for a number of years.
Wow. All right. And so from there, what was the next step?
Well, kind of organically over time, I went from, out in Temecula area where my family's from, I'm selling short sales, doing these foreclosures. Then I go to selling luxury real estate for Coldwell Banker in Newport Beach. Then
when was that?
That was probably, end of 2009, first part of 2010.
Okay. Yeah, so discounted luxury real estate then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly, right? It was still kind of that.
Yeah.
It was cool because I kind of got used to, in Temecula, you work with a certain type of buyer, right? It's middle class. They're looking at $300,000 houses. They have different needs and wants. They're down driven, payment driven. Now I got a chance to go to Newport Beach, and it was a much higher expectation as far as what the clients expected. Now we're getting into just a whole different level of customer service and sales.
Very cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a different buyer out there.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because people ask, why'd you go to Newport? I said, well, for some weird reason, I was sitting there one day and I went, I either have to go to Manhattan, New York, I got to go to Beverly Hills, or I got to go to Newport Beach. Like, I know I'm leaving Temecula and I love doing what I'm doing out here, but I got to go to some big market and throw myself in there and see what the hell's going to happen. And, Newport ended up being the spot. So.
Very cool.
So when did Inland Builders start in all this?
Yeah, I guess
timeline.
to kind of fast track it, I basically spent my 20s, these varying positions in real estate, right? Mortgage, selling properties, et cetera. And I kind of got my first taste of being a business owner and in doing more of the development side, you could say, around 2012, 2013. So at Coldwell Banker, I had a client who was relocating to Corona Del Mar from out of town, and he was coming to town to start a house flipping business. And so he wanted me to be his realtor. And I remember one day thinking, I just don't think I should be this guy's realtor. Like, I'm just going to go in there and I'm just going to tell him, I'm not going to be a realtor, but I will be your partner. And if you want to start this house flipping business, we can do it together. And that's what I did. And so we started flipping houses in 2012, 13, and 14.
And he said, sure, sounds good.
Yeah, he was a little taken back because, the way he said it was, I'm not going to be your realtor with all due respect. I'm going to be your partner if you want to start this company. And it was really kind of cool. And we loved flipping the houses. We flipped the houses for a number of years. That got super competitive. The margins kind of got tough. And so, it's just, again, it's been kind of a transition over my career. But coming back into Inland Builders, I met my partner now, Ivano Stamania, kind of randomly. He was applying for a loan on some land that he had owned, and a buddy of mine introduced me to him. And so I was really just there to help my buddy out to get some information from Ivano on his application or whatever. And so anyway, we hit it off because he's Italian, I'm Italian, and I just quickly realized that this guy, kind of knew his stuff when it came to development. He'd been doing this for 40 years, and I think hopefully he felt the same way about me from the standpoint of, hey, here's a kid who might be kind of full of piss and vinegar, but he's kind of gotten some small successes and beat up a little bit in real estate and maybe brings a little bit more of that HR, marketing, legal, some of the other stuff that would complement more of your typical, older guy that's been in development forever, right?
Right.
So that was kind of more or less how we came together on that.
All right.
And what is it that you guys do now on a day-to-day?
So we're commercial general contractors. So we basically build properties for clients.
So from the ground up, you guys are the GC.
Correct.
Working with property owners to and only commercial property, no residential.
Well, we do residential. I say commercial in terms of like the size and scale. So our ideal, we kind of look at ourselves as more of a medium size general contracting firm, right? You got the guys and gals that do like remodels and maybe one house. You got the big companies that build the stadiums and the Wynn here. We're kind of that in between where we can build a 25 unit apartment building or a 90 unit condo building, that sweet kind of in between spot.
So where was the transition between flipping just single family residences, 7, 8 years ago to actually doing, multifamily construction? And I think I read on your website too, you guys do subterranean parking garages as well. And where did that transition happen, and how did that happen?
So it kind of happened maybe organically, because again, when I decided that I was going to now, once again, when I kind of said, hey, I'm going to partner with Ivano, right?
Yep.
And we're going to start this construction company. Originally, we really weren't sure exactly which direction we were going to go. To kind of zoom out a little bit, Ivano's background is more developing properties for 40 years for himself, right? So his whole career, he basically just bought land and built things on it.
Yeah.
And at the time when I met him, he was kind of a little out of the construction. He was doing more land entitlement deals. And we were originally looking at maybe kind of buying some of our own land, in fact, out in Riverside and some of these other places, and building houses on that. But what happened was, kind of by chance, a client came to us and told us that they wanted to find a GC to build an 89 unit building in Koreatown, and asked if we'd be interested in bidding on it. And so, at the time, we really weren't set up to do that quite yet. But because of Ivano's history and the fact that he had built similar buildings over his career, they said, well, we know you can do it. Maybe you're a little rusty, but we know you can do it, or you have done it. Will you guys spend some time and bid on this thing for us? And that was kind of really our big push, his push back into vertical construction, and kind of my push with him into it.
And were you guys awarded that project?
We were. Yeah, it took us a year of bidding on it and meeting with these guys. And then once we signed the contract, it took us almost another year before we could break ground.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So do you guys self-perform any work at all, or are you just 100% general contractor?
We really don't self-perform. I mean, we have to kind of serve a need at certain times, but we really prefer not to, because we feel that our value is best served by bringing in the appropriate subcontractors for each particular job. We'd rather spend our time vetting the subs, understanding the plans in the building, making sure everything's run efficiently and with safety protocols, focusing on the budget, the timeline. So no, we don't typically self-perform.
So going back to the subcontractors a little bit, what's, vetting them out a little bit, what's that process look like for you guys? Because I have to imagine that's probably one of the most important things you guys do.
Well, it is
hiring the good subs.
You guys know that will make or break your deal, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Guys out there, and it does happen from time to time, but you get bad guys or gals out there, it can really screw things up. And so for us, I think we've been fortunate because of kind of the price point we're playing in, that most of the subs that we would have to choose from anyway that can do these jobs are usually pretty professional companies. They're not just standalone guys. So they're, 100 employee drywall firms, right? Or whatever. And so we kind of have a good, starting point from that perspective. But what we do is we check out their licenses. We ask for financials to see how solvent they are. We go through their license, the Better Business Bureau. Of course, everything's insurance, insurance is in place. We ask for references. We won't hire anybody if we haven't walked a number of their existing and past jobs. So, I mean, we have a whole thing that we put these guys through. And then once we start working with them, then we're working with them. But initially, we're very hesitant of who we'll put on a job.
Right. Yeah, I think walking their previous job sites is pretty smart. I don't know that I've heard that one before, but that's pretty.
You can see how they operate and safety protocols, all that. Yeah. Especially on the job. Do
you guys have boots on the ground on job sites, or just project management staff?
We take staffing our job very seriously. In fact, even though we're kind of, again, this our flagship job right now is $32 million, right? The project that we're building in Koreatown. But inherently, we get roped into some smaller deals sometimes where you could say, does it make sense to put a trailer out there and have someone there every single day from inland? But for us, the answer is yes. We will not have one job that there isn't an inland builders employee, superintendent, or PM on that job from, call it 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. every single day in LA, right? So we take that part of it pretty seriously.
Oh, so you guys actually have somebody on site every day, every hour of that job? Wow.
We put a trailer out there. It's got internet and AC. Those guys are out there doing site walks, checking safety. They make all the subs and their employees sign in. So we watch it very closely, each one of our jobs.
Now, since, and I assume that you're probably still looking for specific subs here and there depending on the project, but have you kind of come into kind of a trusted group of maybe 3 or 4, maybe drywall guys and HVAC guys, or how are you? I know how you're already figuring out who you want to come on board, but how does that bidding process work for you guys?
Yeah, so it's another great question. I mean, you're right. We have certain people that we know, and we know they can perform. We know they might be right for this particular job that we're putting a bid together for. And so a lot of times we can, in certain trade line items, if you will, we can go right to one particular guy for concrete or one particular guy for framing. And we know their number is going to be pretty accurate if they give it to us, right, and they can stand behind it. So we'll usually, when we give a client a bid, we're pretty open with how we do it. We don't like doing what I would call like a lump bid, right? Like if it's a $10 million job, we don't like to tell people to just, here you go, it's 10 million, right? We want to show them, hey, we have the backups for all the bids we've gotten. And here's how that all extrapolates up to 8.5 million. And here's how it's going to be another 1.5 million for our insurance, our cost to have a superintendent on site, our overhead and profit fee, right? So we break all that out so they can see very clearly exactly what we plan to make, what our margins are, and what the pricing is directly from our subs, which also helps because sometimes we're high on something. And by us breaking it out, they can kind of go through those conversations with us and go, Brandon, I really think you're high on framing or painting. Can you check the drywall number? And sometimes, those are things that we can kind of fine tune.
Right. And then employment overall, especially for some of those like superintendent guys that are on the job themselves, what's your process for bringing guys on? And,
what kind of stuff are you looking for?
Yeah.
Well, we're really big on what's the cliche expression, slow to hire, fast to fire, right?
Yeah.
So that's because it hasn't always been how I've done things, right? Like in the past, and anytime I've ever hired someone, it's too fast. It's inherently kind of bites us in the butt a little bit. But the point is like we always look for experience. We always a certain degree of experience, especially if they're the lead superintendent or lead project manager. They have to either currently work here or they have to have a ton of experience coming here with that type of project, right? Because a lot of times people will come and say, well, Brandon, I have experience, doing shopping centers for 20 years as a superintendent, but I want to do this 7-story apartment building you guys, are building. And the problem is that there may be some crossover, but there's a lot of detail in the disciplines, right, in construction. So we're very particular about putting experienced people on the right jobs. And of course, we vet them and check them out. And, there's a whole process that goes into, letting them get hired on as well.
Are you guys doing any public work at all, or is it all private?
No, so we do have an engineering license as well as a general contractor license. So we can do public work types jobs, but we don't at the moment. No. Okay.
Yeah, because I was kind of curious if any of the all the different, and I don't know all the acronyms, but all the different programs as far as, like minority owned or women owned or any of those kind of things kind of come into play when you're job bidding. But I think a lot of that's really public work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
We'll talk about, a question we tend to try to ask a lot about is just as a business owner, you're dealing with the day-to-day and hurdles and problems that come up. Maybe before we get into that, and you've kind of alluded to this with your partners and stuff, if you could talk about maybe your management team and the people that you kind of lean on in difficult times and kind of each of their roles.
So we're set up, one of the reasons why probably we can't be as competitive on a smaller deal, right? If you guys called us and said, hey, Brandon, I want you to build this one house for me, I may not be able to be that competitive because even though we're a smaller company, we do have, maybe a dozen team members and in my close circle, 3 or 4 of us, right, that help us kind of plan our attack on everything we're doing. And so we're a little heavy on management for a smaller company, but that's so that we can go get these 20, 30, 40 million dollar, 100 unit projects and we can manage them like the big boys, even though we're not, right? Not yet. So there's my partner, Ivano, who owns the company with me. He's been doing this for 40 years. Came here from Italy, started off as a concrete finisher and a framer, basically worked from the ground up to where he was able to start building his own buildings. There's myself. I spend a lot of time on the overall organization, which might be bringing in business, hiring new superintendents, working with our attorneys and accountants, right? Making sure the machine operates. Then I've got who I call a VP of operations, a guy named Greg, who basically will run around to all the job sites, make sure everybody's showing up, make sure the superintendents are doing their thing. He'll meet with clients with me. We've got a great accountant or a controller in the office. So we've got just different team members that kind of do their thing, but a really good team to make sure that we can kind of push things forward every week.
Right. And how did you find those guys? And gals, I should say.
A gal, right? Yeah. Karen, who is a gal controller, she's awesome. And I found her, maybe 3-4 months ago by chance. I mean, we were looking for somebody and it was just kind of right time, right place. So I knew I had to beg her to come aboard and she obliged. It was fantastic. But Greg, my right hand man, I've known him for a number of years. He used to sell commercial real estate with me when I was in between my house flipping business and when we started this construction company. So a lot of the people, it's kind of a combination. Some of them are people that Ivano's known for a number of years and or they've worked for him. And the same thing for me. So it's kind of like a little bit of a Brady bunch, right? It was like when we set this company up, it was like everybody kind of brought some people on board, hired some new people, but kind of merged a couple of existing families.
Right. People that you know and trust that have already been through some of the trenches with you guys already.
Dude, it's so important. If you don't have those people around you, I mean, it's you have to have those people around you. You guys know it's so important.
Right.
So what are some of the kind of the challenges that you guys face? I would imagine probably along the lines of, managing those relationships with the subs or, some other things, but are there anything else that kind of sticks out as far as things that you guys got to deal with?
Yeah.
Often.
I mean, right now it's a lot of managing where we think challenges might be, right? Some of this, what's going on with COVID and some of the different things. We're in an election year. There's just lots of things going on. Financing's gotten tougher for a lot of our clients. So we've had to, kind of help manage expectations and kind of look forward to say, hey, what do we think is going to be happening 3 months from now, 6 months from now? Where do we think these clients are going to get these deals? Do we think anybody's going to pull back over here? Are these subcontractors going to keep showing up? Is the labor force going to contract or expand? So for us, it's just about, how can we move the needle forward without, getting caught with something, 3 months from now. And I think, maybe more specifically, to give you an example of something that we sometimes have a challenge with, it would probably be like change orders with our subs, because what we found is, in particular in working in this Koreatown project, because it's, 2.5, 3 year deal, sometimes the subs have had a hard time where they've signed up for a contract and a lot of time's gone by. And so the lumber's changed or, things have happened, right? And so this is where you get into these situations where, you have to be respectful of the sub and know that it's not fair to a sub if something changed, even if you have them contractually, right? Let's say that I don't have to do something contractually for my drywaller, but I know that if I don't help the guy out, I could break him. He could walk off the job. We could not be able to do any business anymore. And that's not a good thing, right? So for us, like we always want our subs to understand that, when we sign a contract with them, they have to deliver on their part. But if commodities go crazy while they're out there, or if they have their foreman walk off the job, we're always going to be there to help them kind of solve some issues and hopefully keep the ship moving forward.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. Maintaining that relationship, not really kind of burning bridges, if you will. Yeah. I mean, just like you said, even though you have them contractually, probably helps manage workload in the future, so you don't have to worry about trying to find new guys all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's the future for you guys? I mean, you said that you weren't one of those big guys yet. What's the plan look like down the road?
Well, we really want to be known as competitors to, some of the larger GC firms. We really believe that we can, build this thing into, kind of more of a player in not only Los Angeles, but maybe New York and Austin and Phoenix and some of these other markets where, just like we're finding in LA, where maybe there's a need for, kind of some new blood on the general construction front. And so I think big picture, hopefully we'll have at any given time, X amount of projects that we're building, hotels, apartments, in these urban marketplaces. We may over time start to do some of our own projects or more of our own projects, right? Right now, maybe it's like 90% general contracting work. Maybe over time, it might be closer to 60-40, still doing more GC work, but having some of our own deals that we're building for ourselves, since that was my partner's background. So I think that might be kind of part of the deal.
Very cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So what maybe kind of backtrack a little bit. What do you think kind of separates you guys from somebody else when you guys are bidding a job for an owner?
Well, for us, it's management. It's totally management, because like I mentioned before, we always have our jobs staffed. We work very transparently with our clients. We have We have most of the time we offer to our clients to let them put their own people in the trailer with our superintendent. They can be there all day if they want, or they can stop by once a week. We use a program called Procore, which maybe you guys, right? So we use Procore, right? Clients can be anywhere in the world. Our clients can be in Seoul, South Korea. They can be in Toronto or LA, and they can log in every day and see if we had passed inspections. They can see how many people were on the job, pictures, video, all that stuff. So we, for us, again, it's really our management. We believe in giving, what I would call really strong white collar commercial real estate law firm type experience, brokerage type experience, maybe because that was part of my background, to clients that are in the building industry. We don't want to be, known for, hey, these guys can go out and build, but they don't answer my call. I never get an update from them. They can't write me an email. They're hiding behind things, right? So for us, it's transparency, and it's about really having a good management team.
Yeah. So playing kind of devil's advocate a little bit, or maybe to kind of extrapolate on that, how do you quantify those things when you go in and you're giving a presentation and say, we're going to do all these things? What is it you guys do to kind of help quantify or give examples of those kind of things that you guys do that maybe are above and beyond?
So we actually have an acronym here. It's called TEAMS, right? And sort of our value proposition is, real teams complete projects. And that acronym stands for transparency, experience, accountability, and moral responsibility. And kind of it's our way of saying outwardly and to ourselves that, these are kind of the guiding principles. This is how we hire. This is how we engage with our clients. And so it kind of sets the tone when we're making those operational decisions of how we go out and do things. Kind of helps us kind of navigate from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then in terms of COVID, just, I guess I got a couple questions there, but kind of entering into that, and I don't know how it was for you, but it just seems like it came very quickly, right? So how did you navigate in that first month or so of, you're in LA, so, right. So you were heavily shut down and still kind of are. So how are you guys navigating that, especially given all the new requirements with construction?
Well, and I'll be honest with you, right? We always do everything by the books, but when that thing first went down, I called my partner, and we're our pants at that point, right? I'm like, because we need our jobs to continue. If our jobs continue, the banks pay us, our clients are happy. Like we don't, slowing down to us, it just doesn't exist in our vocabulary or our train of thought. And so I called my partner. I said, "What are we going to do? Do we tell everybody to walk up the jobs? Like, do we send them?" And he said, "Brandon, send them, and send them. We have to keep working
until they
figure this out."
Off.
You know what I mean? Like, it was that crazy. And like, I remember we had to get on the phone with our attorneys, and we're calling the city. And this is before they labeled construction as a essential business.
Yeah.
Right. Because they ultimately did. But there was some time in between where we weren't sure, if we were technically shut down. I guess technically we were shut down, but we just said, you know what, screw it. Lock the gates of the job site, keep the guys working. If we really get stopped by the city, then we'll stop. But we couldn't justify it for ourselves or our clients, not continuing to see forward momentum. And
I'm assuming everything was okay, right? You guys, because they deemed you essential and we're good.
Yeah, exactly. So everything ultimately worked out from that standpoint. And there's a new set of rules in LA now in town. You guys are aware probably, but everyone's got to have masks, and there's just more washing stations and different things, as far as how they work on the sites now.
Right.
From a morale standpoint, how did your employees handle it? Yeah. How did your employees handle kind of just the trepidation and the unknowingness of the whole situation?
Well, I'll tell you, we have a really good team that wants to go to work. These guys, our job sites may open at 7, but we've got people that show up at 5 a.m. and they're ready by 7, and they do not want to stop. And so I think by the fact that my partner and I were able to confidently tell them, we got your back and we're going to keep this machine moving, I think that was everything to them, because then they knew, okay, it's we're going to keep getting paid. We still can go to work. And I think in some regard, maybe them staying in that routine maybe helped them, mentally get through whatever was going on, right? Because they were so busy. Nobody had time really even to slow down, even with everything that was going on.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that was the fear that was happening, especially in that week or so, or not even that, like 3 or 4 days of like, are we going to continue to work? Are we going to get paid? Are we going to be able to live? Are we going to be able to, put food on the table? Yeah. So you get guys like that are, rearing and ready to go at 5 a.m. Yeah, that's huge. What were you going to say, Mike?
Did you see any kind of slowdown in bids or kind of new startups, between March and April, and if so, have you seen them kind of pick up recently, or where's it at right now?
It's by the way, that great question, because yes, we did. We had a few contracts that we were actually close to signing that were basically, hopefully still are ours,
right.
but where when we had one in particular in I want to say Pasadena, Highland Park area, and another client that we're building for right now. They've got a new project, and I think that's a $5 million contract. And anyway, we negotiated for a while and whatever, and he called me. I'm pretty sure it was a week before COVID. It might have been 2 weeks. And he called and said, hey, we just talked it over. We're done negotiating. We're going to sign the $5 million deal with you guys. We want you to start right away. Thank you for everything. And I just wanted to personally call, so I get this call, right? And then the whole COVID thing happens. And then we find out, no, now the banks have changed the loan to value, loan to cost structure that they want. And they want more cash from our clients to do the deal, right? And so, and that wasn't the only client. And so what we've seen across the board is that a lot of our clients have since had to kind of slow down the new starts temporarily, because they've got, like this client in particular has 12 other projects. And so they need to sell some of the existing stuff that's finished to recapitalize so that they can give the bank the extra 10 or 15% for the new construction loan on X, Y, and Z project, right? And so that's kind of what we saw. And to be honest, what we're still seeing, if there's a choke point, it's that right now. It's getting these construction loans, because there's still high leverage lenders out there, but they want 10%. And a lot of our clients are used to paying 5-6% money, 7% money, for their construction loans. So even though things have tightened up on the LTC, they're not just going to go pay 10%. They're going to sit. They're going to wait till the banks loosen up or until they're recapitalized. And so we're kind of still a little bit in that mode right now.
How given the fact that you've been at least in the finance space on the real estate side for quite a bit, what are your thoughts in terms of that? How long do you think that's going to continue to last? And
I think it's probably going to change after the election, because I think it's going to dovetail nicely with, we get through the election and a lot of the craziness that's always going to go on in an election year anyway.
Right.
I think as long as this thing doesn't flare up on the COVID front too terribly much between now and the end of the year, hopefully there's vaccine and cases go down. I think a lot of it's the optics. What I've seen, at least over my career, is that a lot of what happens on the lending front or in the stock market, right, these other places, a lot of it's emotional. And the second that things kind of become less emotional and people can get back to work and chill out, it's like it never happened. It's like the goldfish brain thing. It's like, oh, what was COVID? Okay, we're back to lending. I feel like hopefully that will be the case, by the end of the year. But
knock on wood, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I swear, I when this whole thing started going down, it was probably a week before. So March 17th to me is like the day that really everything kicked in. So it was a week before. My wife says to me, she's sitting on the couch, she says, how long do you think is this thing going to affect us? Are they going to shut down the economy, any stores? Are we going to be able to go to Target? And I was like, no, are you crazy? They'd never do that. That would be political suicide. And so I've consistently been proven wrong, because I feel like in a lot of ways I come from a logical kind of mindset, and this is so emotional. So it's lasted so much longer than I thought it would. I agree with you. I think that after a while, it's like the September 11th thing, when, everybody were flying flags the first few months, and, we were going to war immediately. It felt like 3 weeks we're in Afghanistan. Right. And then you go 6, 8, 7, 8 months. It was like, oh, we're kind of back to normal. Everybody's watching the E! Channel again,
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
How about building permits? How is that looking for you guys?
So I'm not quite sure at the moment on the front end. A lot of the projects we're dealing with are already permitted, but I can tell you that I have to say, the city of Los Angeles, my hat is off to them, because they can be a big pain in the what sometimes, but They have, from what we've seen on our projects, the inspectors have shown up. Couldn't show up. They've done things digitally to the best of their ability. the city has worked with us over the counter or virtually where we've needed them to, again, to make sure that our existing jobs have not slowed down or stopped. And I'm actually just amazed at what the city's been able to do during this time, because I'm sure it's been a big pain in the butt for them.
Go figure. That's excellent.
That's crazy, because a lot of people we talk to say that getting permits and dealing with the municipalities has been kind of a pain in the butt. Yeah. So
I wonder if too, I mean, but all those people haven't been in LA. I'm thinking specifically more like Central California, Northern California. I wonder if that has to do with the fact that the spotlight has been on LA so intensely, it seems like, especially with the number of COVID patients and wearing masks and the economy being shut down essentially up there. That's interesting.
And maybe also to touch on that, it's I think on the front end, if you were to start getting a project entitled right now or start going through a brand new building, process.
Yeah, it might be a pain.
Process. I'm sure it's going to take longer than usual, right? But I think for whatever reason, they've put some emphasis on the deals in process, the existing construction projects, to make sure that there weren't things missed.
Right. Yeah. I had a conversation with a guy earlier, and he was telling us, at least down, because we're down in Orange County, and he was saying, one of the cities, they had one person in the office that was handling all the permitting, and they were so backlogged. So it was causing, of course, hiccups in construction on this side. So that's interesting. Very cool. Well, cool. Well, hey, Brandon, really appreciate having you on today. Wanted to give you some time to maybe I know you're actually on a marketing trip as we speak, but market yourself a little bit. Tell everybody where to find you, and whether it's social media or website or whatever.
How the people can get a hold of you.
So we've got a website. It's called inlandbuild.com, INLAND build.com, which is obviously short for inlandbuilders.com. You can go there, check us out. All our phone numbers, emails are on the website. We're also on LinkedIn. We're doing a big LinkedIn push right now. That's where we connected. Yep. We're out there. We'd love to do more business.
Where do we see the content you guys are making right now in Vegas?
Yeah.
Right. Well, it will be coming out. We're making a little treasure trove of content, so we'll be leaking it out there. It'll be on our website, but it'll also be on LinkedIn, and we're in the process of putting together a new YouTube channel. So we'll start having things go to that.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, let us know. Yeah. We'll push that too.
Yeah. Well, give us a link when you guys get it up, and we'll get it linked on your little episode bio.
Yeah. No.
Brain fart.
I appreciate that. Hey, and hopefully you guys can have me back on. Maybe I can come back to 140 or 840 or 1,040.
Absolutely.
I keep saying 40. I guess I'm 58. So maybe 1,058 you can have me.
There you go.
Come full circle at that point.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for your time, Brandon. We appreciate it. We'll make sure we keep in touch and stay safe out there. Stay cool in Vegas.
You too. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Yep.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.